If you're an academic, you know the deal. Getting published in a top-tier journal is pretty much the holy grail. But let's be honest, it's a tough, high-stakes game where a lot of really great work, unfortunately, just never makes it. So what's the secret sauce? What separates the papers that get published from the ones that get rejected? Well, let's dive in.
Okay, let that number sink in for a second. 95%. The top journals in pretty much every field have rejection rates this high, sometimes even higher. To put that in perspective, for every 20 manuscripts that an editor sees, 19 get turned away. That's a staggering number, and it really shows you just how competitive this world is.
Right. When you're up against a 95% rejection rate, just having good research isn't enough. Not even close. You need a strategy. You need an insider's playbook. And that's what we're going to go through today, using advice that comes straight from journal editors themselves. The ultimate gatekeepers.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to really understand that 95% rejection hurdle. Then, we'll talk about how to make a killer first impression with just your title and abstract. After that, it's all about building that core argument, proving your case with the right methods, and finally, sticking the landing with a really powerful conclusion. Okay, first things first. We have to get a handle on why so many papers get that rejection letter. The tips we're using for this explainer come from editors at the journal Industrial Marketing Management, and believe me, these folks have seen it all. And they'll tell you that the deciding factor, it isn't always the science. And this, right here, gets to the absolute heart of it. It's not always the best research that gets published. It's the best presented research. So many brilliant ideas get lost just because they're packaged poorly. So the real secret, the game changer, is realizing that mastering the art of presentation is just as crucial as the research itself. All right, let's jump into our first play, making that first impression count. This all comes down to the first two things anyone ever sees, your title and your abstract. If you get these wrong, your paper might be dead on arrival. I absolutely love this quote because it just nails it. Your title isn't just a label, it's a hook. It's the very first thing that sets expectations for the reviewer. Think about it. A boring title signals a boring paper, but a sharp, exciting title, that promises something new, something important. So, how can you be sure your title is actually working? Well, the authors suggest this really simple but powerful test. Send only your title to about 6 colleagues. If they can't figure out what your paper's about, or if it doesn't spark any curiosity, your title's not doing its job. It's like a mini focus group for your manuscript. This is such a great way to think about it. Your abstract isn't just a summary, it's an ad. You have to remember, in a world where it can cost $50 just to download a single article, your abstract has one critical job: to convince someone that your work is worth their time and money. And to be a great ad, your abstract needs to hit these 4 key points. Tell them the problem you're tackling, briefly explain how you did it, and most importantly, show off your key findings and tell the reader why they should care. This isn't the place to be mysterious. You want to give away the results to pull them in. So once you've hooked them with that amazing title and abstract, it's time to actually deliver. We're moving into the core of the paper now, the introduction and the hypotheses. This is where you really start to build your case and lay out your specific, testable predictions. A great introduction has 3 crucial jobs to do. First, it has to focus the reader on your specific question. Second, it needs to give them the theoretical context, the frame of reference. And third, it has to clearly point out the gap in what we already know, the gap your research is about to fill. Basically, your intro has to answer that big "so what" question right from the jump. Okay, let's talk about hypotheses, because this is a huge tripwire for a lot of papers. Reviewers can't stand hypotheses that state the obvious, common knowledge, or ones that try to test 2 or 3 ideas all at once. A strong hypothesis is specific and testable. It's clearly linked to theory, and it's directional, meaning it doesn't just predict a relationship, it predicts the nature of it. So you've laid out your argument. Awesome. Now you've got to prove it, and that is the job of the methodology section. This part isn't just about listing what you did, it's about explaining why you did it that way. This quote just perfectly sums up a classic mistake. Sometimes researchers find a hot new method, a hammer, and they try to use it for every single problem. But your method has to fit the research question, not the other way around. It's all about picking the right tool for that specific job. And that all comes down to one word:
justification. Your methodology section has to absolutely convince the reviewer that you didn't just pick a method at random. You need to clearly argue why your chosen approach was the best, most rigorous way to answer your specific research question. We are in the home stretch now. You've laid out all your amazing findings, but you're not done yet. You have to stick the landing. The discussion and conclusion are your final chance to really shape how a reviewer thinks about your work and its contribution.
A really good discussion section isn't just a summary of your results. It's an interpretation. So think of it like a final checklist. You've got to tie your findings back to your original question, explain what they mean, argue why they're important, be upfront about any limitations, and then point the way for future research. And finally, the conclusion. You know, just like the title creates that first impression, the conclusion creates the lasting one. This is not the place for a simple summary. Your abstract did that. No, this is your last chance to make a powerful statement about why your research matters and why it absolutely deserves to be in this journal. Make it count. So, what's the big takeaway here? The road to getting published is a marathon of details, for sure. But you don't have to fix everything all at once. So think about your own work right now and ask yourself this question. What's one page you can improve today? Is it the title, the abstract, maybe the justification for your method? Just pick one thing, one page, and use what we've talked about to make it better today.